Greetings. Welcome to episode 7 of the 1 Percentile podcast. In this case, I'm going to be talking about an American invention of which in which they created the world's finest pots and pans. Now, for hundreds of years, the United States they were using uh, cast iron uh, pots and pans that had handles on them, and when the pans got hot, you had to use a towel or something like that to be able to pick them up. And so what a company which is called, back then it was called Revere, they decided to create stainless steel pans. And what they did is they developed and patented what is known as electroplating. And they would electroplate the bottom of these stainless steel pans with copper. And the idea of the copper is that it would spread the heat over the entire pan, and thusly they didn't have any hot spots. Also, what they did is they attached a handle to each of these pans, and it was made of Bakelite. And consequently, the Bakelite would not pick up any of the heat. So you could pick it up without having to worry about burning your hands. And this was done in 1939. Now, these pans were kind of expensive, and so were the pots. But what would happen is that when a woman is going to get married or something like that, their parents or their friends would go and they would buy these full sets of Revere, and they would give them to them as a wedding present, and they were really well constructed, and they lasted so long that they would pass them down to their children. And this went on until 1970. And in 1970, one of the engineers at his name was Kennedy, was working for Revere, and he invented and got patent a way of taking this stainless steel and being able to put a solid copper uh, bottom to it. And they had to put in a chemical between the stainless steel and the solid copper. And then they put it under great pressure, and they got a patent for that. So they started selling these, and this is one of them right here. Here's the pan. This is copper, thick copper. And here is the inside, the stainless steel. And the point of being is that the copper would spread the heat and had elevated sides here. And when you had to clean the inside, it was stainless steel. It didn't rust, and you could use SOS pads on it and everything else like it. So consequently, you had a pan that would spread the heat, and you could clean it. You could put it in the dishwasher. You could do anything. And then what they did also is to make it really look lovely. They attached a remember, it's copper, stainless steel, and then they put on these bronze handles, and the bronze handles were held on with 3 rivets. Now, they also did the same thing with the covers. Bronze, copper, stainless steel. They sold these for about 10 years, and they were so beloved and so useful is that uh, again the parents would give them to their sons or daughters because they were transferable. You never threw any of these things away. And here is one of the pots. There it is, stainless steel. There's all the copper right there. And here's the handle. Now, You did have to have a you know a dishcloth or something like that to pick up the handle, because eventually the handles did absorb some of the heat, but they were so beautiful that they never had a problem with that. And the same thing with the covers. Now, there was a company in France that had a 400-year reputation. And what they did is they also made copper pans and pots. And this is one of them. And what they did is they had to go in and put in, it's called tin. It's called tinning. Now the tin would be inside the copper, and thusly the food that's being cooked or boiled or whatever it would not be transferred to the food. But the problem with the tin is that it wore out and it would start to flake out. And this is why the pans that Revere made with the stainless steel, they completely uh, made these kinds of pots and pans obsolete. In fact, here is one of the uh, this is one of the items that they used for hundreds of years. The cast iron pots and pans, and this is how you had to pick them up. Now, when you cook with these, they develop a patina. Now, this is one of them right here. There's a virgin pan, never been used. Okay, but when you cook with them, and I cook with these things, and and whenever I make eggs, I would always use this pan because this would hold 2 eggs, and you can scramble them, or it's sunny side or upside down, however you want. But it would have a patina, but the copper would still conduct. Now, eventually, uh, there was this, as I mentioned before, this French company that made these pans waited until the patents in America ran out. Then they decided, okay, let's take the idea and make these pans in France, but they would make the copper thicker because they were going to make it better than what these were. So the copper is thicker, the stainless steel is thicker, and but they still had they still added a uh, a handle to it, which was bronze. Now, the problem that uh, these pans had is that they had 3 rivets that went through the copper into the stainless steel. But Revere wanted to have it look really, really nice. So they machined this part right here down, and there were times when people would put too much food and in them, and they pick them up, and the handles would work loose. So this other company, what they did is they had the rivets go all the way through, and so they never had that problem. And that was inspiration for the Americans and for the French to complete 2 completely different kinds of pans. And they changed the world. These pans that the French are making are used by some of the great cooks in the world, and um, and they're very expensive. Now, Oprah Winfrey, when she first started out and bought a house, uh, she'd have people go through the house and because she was very proud of them. And they'd go to the kitchen, and she'd have these pans hanging from the kitchen. And what were they? They were all of these. These are the Revere wares. Later, when Oprah Winfrey bought another house, and she had a lot more money, uh, she'd have people go through their house again, a new one, and go to the kitchen. And guess what? These are these new French pans hanging from there. And that's the story of it. Now, we have some pictures of what and here's one of the pictures of what the 1939 uh, pot looked like. We have another picture that shows what the 1939 skillet looked like. Now the question is, where can you find these things? And they're sold on eBay. And what happens is that, remember, you don't throw these things away. And so the parents, they give them to their children, and then their children give it to their children, and eventually they get something newer, and they'll start to put them on eBay to sell. Now, eBay will they still have some of the original pans that are in the box and everything else like that. So you'll get them looking like this. However, a lot of them have been used, and they have, they have this patina of being used. However, when you buy them, because they are used, you can get them at a really good price. All you have to do is get some copper cleaner, and you can just clean them like that, and they're going to end up looking like this. eBay. As Steve Jobs would say, one more thing, and that is I've reviewed a number of different people's broadcasts, and in the background they would, have these bookcases full of books. And what I want to do is on my background, I wanted the viewers to get an idea of the various interests that I have and things like that. And as a child, I was raised in a family with firearms, and I used to go hunting. And so I want to show you some additions that I've added to the background. The first one is this Winchester. It's a 30-30 lever action, and this is the gun that won the West. Okay, below it is a lever action. Below it is a Winchester uh, 264 Magnum, and it's a bolt action. And uh, they are both classic rifles, and they are Winchesters. In conclusion, I want to add, and I have to read this. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons. All my links are down below, including my Patreon, which is now up and running. That includes exclusive content not found on YouTube. Thank you for watching.